They've trekked for hours across the Guajira desert, nestled between Venezuela and Colombia, to join this long queue.
We're from Venezuela. We come here every day because the situation in our country is getting worse by the day. We don't have any food, we don't have any water. Over there we have nothing.
Every day, more than 2,000 Wayuu Indians line up for a free meal from the World Food Programme. The border is just a few meters away. And each day, thousands of Venezuelans come to stock up on supplies or to start a life in exile. The suffering of an entire nation can be felt here.
Is this the UN Refugee Agency?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to sign up for humanitarian aid.
Please come in.
With 4 million refugees, the Venezuelan migrant crisis is one of the worst the world has ever seen, second only to the crisis in Syria, despite it not taking place near a war zone. In Maicao, a few kilometres from the border, the UN Refugee Agency has set up a camp to shelter the poorest and most vulnerable migrants for 30 days.
The state in which the Venezuelans are coming is getting worse. In the beginning, we'd see many men on their own, between 20 and 35 years old, and families began to arrive. And today we see a lot of older people, people with disabilities, pregnant women, or mothers who are nursing infants.
The camp is set to quadruple in capacity by next year.
The crisis has grown significantly, but the response so far has not been up to scale.
International solidarity has been lacking. 70% of the funds requested by the UN are still missing. The Venezuelans who remain in Maicao don't have the means to continue their journey. More than 150,000 are stuck in the Guajira region, one of the poorest on the continent. That's left thousands of people sleeping on the streets or in makeshift shelters, like this car park on the edge of town. The manager is from Venezuela and lets her compatriots use part of the space.
They see photos on Facebook, people drinking beer, eating roast chicken, sharing jokes, so they come here full of illusions. But when they get here, they realise that's not the reality at all.
Kelly and her sister Kathy are from Caracas. They feel safer sleeping among these tarpaulins than out on the streets.
We were sleeping in front of an abandoned building just there, but we came here because one girl was raped and our belongings were stolen.
These families have asked to enter the UN camp, but they could be waiting a long time.
At the moment, there are more than 2,700 people on the waiting list, and the monthly capacity is only 300 to 350 people.
Unable to go any further or to return home, more and more migrants are settling into shanty towns. On the outskirts of Maicao, 150 Venezuelan families live in this ramshackle neighbourhood in the desert. SHIRLIS was a nurse in Venezuela. She arrived with her family 3 years ago. Her husband earns less than €2 a day selling water in the street.
It's frustrating, having made the effort to study, to get a good job, and provide a better life for my children, only to end up in this situation. It's hard.
The neighbourhood is home to more than 300 Venezuelan children, but only a dozen or so go to school.
I'll show you an extreme case. A family with many children not getting any schooling. The head of the family is this lady here.
14 people sleep on 2 mattresses on the floor, flanked by sheet metal. In Venezuela, Eva was a stay-at-home mother. To survive in Colombia, she and her grandchildren dig through rubbish bins looking for items to recycle.
The majority of children here get skin rash, like a fungus. Why? Because the air is contaminated. There's a creek just over there, and that's where all the human waste and the rubbish is thrown away.
The The residents of this community live day to day among piles of garbage, without electricity, running water or sewage. But they've created a semblance of normality and don't think they will return to their country anytime soon. Meanwhile, Kathy and Kelly finally get the green light from the UN Refugee Agency.
We've been given aid. They're taking us in at the reception centre. We're not going to sleep on the streets anymore.
The refugee camp temporarily houses the most vulnerable migrants, those who are sleeping rough and have nowhere to go. Here they'll be fed 3 meals a day, have access to medical treatment and something of a normal life.
Hopefully we'll leave here with real help to keep us off the streets, so we don't have to go back to sleeping in cardboard boxes in bad weather. I wish that for our children more than anything.
In 1 month's time, they'll make room for other refugees and must find their way in a country overwhelmed by a spiralling humanitarian crisis, with the number of Venezuelan migrants set to double by next year.